All right, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and start. Thank you all for coming. I'm Stephanie Herlich, and I am currently the Assessment Center Coordinator at California School for the Blind. The Assessment Center is, we are 100% outreach, and we assess students from all over California whose teams need kind of a third-party look at their students for one reason or another. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to send me an email or give me a call and I can give you more information. But today we're going to be talking about engaging families and paraprofessionals in remote learning. There we go. And one more click here, should be good to go. There, so you should hopefully be able to see my PowerPoint. Cool. All right, so over the summer, I was able to work on the Beginning Braille Basic, well, I called it Braille Basics Webinar Series, Beginning Braille. And that's what I mostly want to share with you today, but I'm also going to talk about a few other things about working with paraprofessionals, which obviously is probably very different right now. And every school is probably using their paraprofessionals differently. So whether it's a time where they're working with students or even a time now to boost their own skills, is kind of what my thought was in presenting this to all of you. So the Beginning Braille webinar series is a 6-part webinar series for learning UEB Braille. Now, I will say it's not the entire code. It's done in 6 parts, and I'll tell you how far it takes you. But it is designed for parents, caregivers, and paraprofessionals. This is not a program that you would have your students log into. It's not a program for TBIs unless you might want a refresher on the beginnings, but this is stuff you should really already know. It really is for parents, caregivers, and paraprofessionals. And I took the outline and used materials from the Dots for Families. If any of you are familiar with that, that was written by Penny Rosenblum and Linda Reed, and they gave me their permission to, I have a funny, let's see, it's kind of a weird message on my computer. Hang on, sorry everybody, there we go. They gave me permission to use their program. So if any of you are familiar with that, much of it is the same. I didn't go as far as they went, and I expanded some of the lessons. So, but that's where the material came from. So as I said, it's an introduction to UEB. It includes learning alphabetic Braille, numbers, basic punctuation, alphabetic word signs, some of the short form words, and initial letter contractions. And then the lessons, within each lesson, I'll show you the beginning of one. It includes a description of what the participants are going to learn. They get examples, and then the meat of it really is independent practices with answers. And it is divided into 6 lessons. And I think at this point, May, my colleague, has been going through it, and she says it takes about an hour to an hour and a half for each lesson. So, but that obviously will change for different people and how different people go through it. So I want to show you what you need. You don't need much. You need a PC or a Mac computer. So you do need a computer because you're going to be using PerkyDuck, which is a free download from Duxbury Systems, and it allows you to 6-key into your computer. PerkyDuck does not work with an iPad, and it does not work on a phone. You really need the computer. That being said, I don't know. No, it would not work with the keyboards connected to an iPad because you need the PerkyDuck system. So unless you have another system where you can 6-key in, that may work, but we're recommending a PC or Mac. And then the lesson materials, and they're all available through YouTube. So how do you get there? It's on our School for the Blind webpage. I'm going to show you how to get there now. And if you go over to resources and you go down to lessons and curricula, and then you'll see it here, Braille Basics Webinar, Beginning Braille. You can also do a YouTube search for it. I'm just not as good at that, so I find this is a little bit easier. This is the description, pretty much everything I just told you. And then go ahead and click the playlist of lessons. And you have all 6 lessons here to share with families, your paraprofessionals, whomever you might want to share this with. I'd say share the CSB webpage link to get there, but whatever works for you. And each one you can see they average about 15 minutes long. Again, it takes about an hour, hour and a half because of all the independent practice. So by clicking on one, Braille code, otherwise known as UEB. I give a little intro. Much of this content is derived. Go ahead and watch it. I do want to remind you, if you are going to use it, you can download by expanding the description. You want to download, you can download the PowerPoint presentation. You can actually download Dots for Families and then the Perky Duck download. So the Perky Duck one is the key thing that you will need in order to proceed in the lessons. So I'll show you, I put it on my slides here just for ease to show you. Once I go through the explanations of what you're going to learn in the lesson. So this is from lesson 1, and it's the letters A through J. And this is a sample of what one of the independent practices look like. There's, I'd say, about 6 or 7. Sometimes some of them have more independent practices. So it tells you exactly what to do. So in this case, Braille line of, and then AB space, and you're supposed to Braille a whole line of that, and you go through this whole page. So you would pause the YouTube video or download the PowerPoint after you've watched the video, and then you can just advance slide by slide, whatever works for you. And then you get your answers to the independent practices. And there's practice, in this case, it is, I'm going to back up one slide. This is, you are Brailing the print. So you're transcribing, in this case, print to Braille, and you're checking yourself with the Braille answers. And then half of the independent practices are interlining. So reading the Braille, writing it in print, and then checking your answers. And that's pretty much how it works. So does anybody have any questions about it? No questions? Okay, then I'm just going to keep talking. Oh, go ahead.
I have a question that I was just trying to search, and if anybody has input, is there anything other than Perky Duck? Like, did you find anything like, I know on the iPad you can 6-key entry, but the win with Perky Duck is that you see the Braille cell itself. Has anybody know about anything?
Yeah, in Perky Duck it's nice because not only do you see the Braille cell, but you can also see a full page. So some of the other ones that I've seen, you only get like a line of Braille. Now, the only other thought I had that you could potentially do this with is Braille blasters. Has anybody out there been using Braille blasters? Because that's new from APH. But my only caveat to that is I like Perky Duck because it doesn't give you the answers. If you're using Braille, if you recommend Braille blasters to someone, they're going to get immediate, it'll be interlining for them. So it might give them a lot of the answers, although I haven't played with it, so I don't know what the different settings are, but they're both free, so.
Hi.
Stephanie, this is Sarah. Oh, hey, go ahead, Ramya. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Yeah, I have used Braille Blaster. Of course, as you said, it gives away the answers because you're typing in print. You cannot really type in Braille there, but you can use Braille Sapphire, which is the BRF program Perky Duck equivalent for APH.
Wait, what was the name of the one that you just recommended?
Braille Zephyr. Braille, Zephyr.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it is the Perky Duck equivalent for Braille Blaster.
It was made for
okay.
Braille Blaster.
It was done by APH. Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so there's another. And has anyone tried that on an iPad? You need an app, right?
It is not an app. It is a download. It is easy to download, and it's not as friendly as Perky Duck, but it is another option.
Okay. Has
When
anyone
does-
found anything that works with an iPad? I'll take that as a no. Okay, well, good. I mean, so it's good to know that there is another option, and they're both free. So it's really whatever people are comfortable using. Sarah, did you have another suggestion?
Oh, just Rami and I work closely together, so it was good to see her. She probably said exactly what I was going to say. But I do believe that in Braille Blasters, it's a dual tile. So one is print and one is Braille. And you can actually input in either. And it doesn't give you the answer until you push space and move on. So like if they were writing hi, it would be HI space, and they wouldn't get the print feedback until they moved on to CAB cab space. But yes, they would get the answer in real time as they were inputting.
Yeah, but I think you cannot input on the Braille side. You can do 6-key input, but you cannot input on the Braille side. You will be inputting it on the print side.
So you'd be 6-keying and you would see print immediately. You wouldn't see the Braille dots.
You won't be able to see the print at all.
Huh. I'll have to play around with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's basically it. There's the series of 6. My advice to people is if they get through all 6 and they want more, my recommendation, and I say this in the video, is to check out Herlich and check out the Braille courses there. I think that for someone who actually makes it all the way through 6, they really should keep going and then do it in through a course that's been more established. It didn't seem, unless I get a lot of feedback to keep it going, I didn't want to completely reinvent a wheel that was already moving. So that's partly why I stopped at 6. But I'm always interested in feedback about it. So moving on, the next thing I wanted to share, whoops, that went too far, is just other resources that CSB has gathered for, in this case, parents, but I also think paraprofessionals, things that maybe paraprofessionals can be doing with students if they have time. I don't know, I'd be curious to hear from those of you that are working with paraprofessionals. Are your paraprofessionals, do they have their own dedicated Zoom time with students, or maybe we can even just chat a little bit about how paraprofessionals are being used right now.
Sorry, this is Sarah again. So Ramia is actually a paraprofessional that works with one of my students. And she joins he's completely blind, 100% Braille, gen ed student. She joins all of his class calls, and evolving over time. Initially, when the school year started, the 3 of us would have ongoing text chats as issues came up so that he could stay fully in his call and just have Ramia kind of in the call as well on the side quietly, to where when we reconvened at the end of the day during our service time, we could recapture pieces that he either didn't feel comfortable asking his teachers. And then as the school year has gone on, they've had the option to go into a separate breakout room to chat about issues that come up that he doesn't want to talk in real time in front of the rest of his class about, but also leaving him in his gen ed class call. So to protect his privacy, and Ramya, you can add on to some of the other strategies that we've used, but that's allowed him to know that worst case, I have support if I need it. I can keep it private if I choose to, and then I direct all of my class content questions directly at my classroom teacher. And that's really been fostering his independence and his growth and his ability to self-advocate, to where up until recently it's gotten to the point where he's really just checking in once or twice a day, and then we review any tech skills or any glitches or issues that come up during our vision services.
That sounds really great. And I really love the idea, and maybe for other kids too, that it's helping students use their classroom teachers directly, because I know that so many times when students have paraprofessionals, instead of asking the classroom teacher, they're asking their paraprofessional or their TVI, and it's constantly having to remind the classroom teacher and the student like who to go to for what information. So I love that it might be helping that, in that the student is going directly to the teacher. I think that's certainly a positive.
Hi, Stephanie, this is May. I just want to read out what's in the chat. We have some people also responding. Thank you. Thank you for adding your comments. So we have Neil who's saying Braille Blaster has separate 6-key entry block. Once you have typed your entire block, you submit it. It will translate and insert into the main window. And then we have some comments about how people are using their paraprofessionals. Thank you so much for adding to the chat. So Yvette says, we're using our paraprofessionals to enlarge, adapt, and transport materials. We also are using our virtual, at CSB, we are having some of our staff members also transport materials. Cindy says that her para comes into her Zoom room and then goes into a breakout room, and then she joins the breakout room periodically to check in. Leslie says that she has a very similar situation to Sarah's. Her para's working with students on the side in their classrooms. And Neil gave a comment. Some are in his Zoom room along with student in real-time class, and some will utilize separate meeting for support. They have been trying to facilitate trainings for direct remote connections to students for direct, or for SS. Connections to SS for direct classroom teacher support. Not sure what SS stands for.
Thanks for recapping that. Yeah, and you know, it's interesting when you, Sarah, I think it was you that mentioned that the student's not always comfortable talking out in the Zoom, and so you're using the breakout room as a privacy thing. And I have 2 high schoolers in my own household, a senior and a freshman, and we were talking about it. And I don't think any of the students like talking out on Zoom. So whether students who, you know, are visually impaired with a disability, or general ed students, and I've heard this from a lot of teachers, especially at the secondary level, it sounds like teachers are, you know, doing anything and everything they can to get these students to participate on Zoom. And, you know, and we can even see it in our own webinars. It's hard to, you know, to jump in, and some people are more comfortable doing it through chat. So I think one nice thing is we're all in this Zoom situation, so we know what the students are feeling and can kind of relate to that. So it seems like a really good strategy to be using the breakout rooms for students. So thank you for sharing that. I am going to share a couple more resources with you. So on the CSB page, if you've not seen this, I want to go there. This is the resources for at-home learning. Vanessa Herndon and I presented on this back in May. May, I believe it was. And just so for you to know that the page is still up there. So again, you're going, scratch that. You're going to go to the main page, you're going to go to resources, and you're going to go to COVID-19 updates. And there's a parent resource section and a teacher resource section. I'm going to look today at the parent resources here. It says parent resources for virtual and at-home learning. Just so you know, the duplicate one of that is curriculum and professional development resources for teachers. But let's look at the parent one, and you can click here and there's a chart, and it's broken up into all sorts of resources for at-home learning. So again, you know, share this with your parents, whom you may also share the Braille, Beginning Braille with. But I wanted to highlight a couple just because I think that they're really pretty cool. The first one is under reading, and it's stories online right here. And I was talking with a friend of mine who teaches 3rd grade, and you know, she was talking about the difficulties with Zoom and everything, and I was asking, are the kids participating? And she says some are, but she said to me the one time of the day where every student is, she feels super engaged, and is when she's reading aloud to her students. She said it's like their best part of the day, that they all really want to hear the story. And I just think that speaks to how important read alouds are. And I love this website because you can go on here, and I believe it's free right now. I don't think it's always free, but you can click on any one of these books, and then they have famous people reading the stories. So this one's with Kevin Costner reading
Welcome to the
Catching the
Storyline
Moon.
Online, brought to you by the SAG Foundation. I'm Kevin Costner, and this is
Jillian Estelle.
We're going to read to you a book today, and it's called, you might want to show them the book. What's it called?
It's called Catching the Moon by Crystal Hubbard, illustrated by Randy Duberg.
And it's a story of a
Can you
young
guys hear
girl-
that? Just nod maybe. Oh, you couldn't hear it a little bit? Okay. I think my sound might need to go up a little, but you can click on any one of these stories, and then you get the read aloud. So your students, you know, can do that. And I just think it's a really neat resource for us to have. So another one is audio recordings of Braille patterns. So around the holidays, often people want to work with their students on how to, you know, draw on the Braille writer. So this is coming from Paths to Literacy, but you can get an audio recording of how to make the Braille pattern. And let me see if I can get my sound. I'm gonna have to, let me tweak my sound a little bit, and that might help you all hear it. Let's go back. You have to have so many windows open when you're presenting on Zoom. Okay, I guess we kind of lost that, so give me a second here. Okay, go through that. There we go. Okay, let's go back to our audio recordings. And I'll pick this one just for a bit of a preview of it, hopefully. Let's see.
Instructions for a flower in a pot. Row 1. Space 9 times. Make the contraction in. Make the contraction en.
So that's very accessible to students, and it might be kind of fun. So that's in Paths to Literacy. Again, you can get there from this chart from the CSB website. Another one is the independent living skills videos. These were just some of my favorites. And if you guys have discovered favorites, there will be time to show us your favorites. So this, again, YouTube video, but it's they're really quick snapshots that Tina D'Arujo, I don't know her, but she's done some great videos. You can, you know, look up by topic. So for example, cleaning and vacuuming. You can just take a quick look at that.
Hey, so how do you vacuum when you're
I don't know if you guys, can you, whoop, sorry, can you hear it? Oh, well now you can't. Darn it. There we go. Try this again.
Before I use my Vanish carpet cleaner, I need to prep
Oh,
the
wait a
floors.
minute. This is not
Part of the
it.
process for me is to
Sorry. Ah, here we go.
Hey, so how do you vacuum when you're at home with your students? Well, the first thing that we always recommend is instead of approaching.
So I have a feeling you probably cannot hear that because it's very soft on my computer, but I think if you can, hopefully when you are on your own system, you can hear it. But again, there's just so many that she has here of all these different ones that you can work with your students on. So I like that. Another one is CBI activities. This is also from Paths to Literacy. But the reason I really like this is because the activities are designed for at home, and they're broken up into the phases, phase 1, 2, 2 advanced, and 3. So it's really a great one to share with your families, especially for those kiddos, which sometimes are super hard to figure out what to do, let alone what to do at home. So I definitely recommend if you have students like that, checking those out. And then this other resource, this comes from other resources, again, on that list. These are stay-at-home activities for children. I believe this is also in Spanish, so you can help send this to your Spanish-speaking families. But how can parents have their kids help, do things around the house while they are spending so much time at home? And that being said, I do want to also make sure you know that this resource, the parent resource, I'm going to back up, is also available in Spanish. So we did have it translated into Spanish, and you can find it on the webpage. So is there any questions about any of that? And share your resources with us, because I know we're all looking for resources.
Hi, Stephanie. This is May again. In the chat, there's some comments. So Cindy shared out that she likes StorylineOnline.net. However, it is for young students. The top academic level is 4th grade, she thinks. So when she used it, she watched it first, and it came up with comprehension questions to be answered afterwards. So they usually need to listen to it 2 or 3 times to understand everything. And then Leslie just shared in the chat a link to homeboundforadventure.podbean.com.
Leslie, would you feel comfortable telling us what that one is? I'll go ahead and click on it since it's easy for me to share and you can all see.
And a description of it on the site says it's a weekly podcast for helping O&M students stay connected and engaged while quarantined. It's made by O&M specialist in Washington State, Tracy Spoon, and it comes out every Wednesday morning.
Hi, it's Leslie. Great. Yeah, she ran it for about 10 weeks back in the spring, so it is finished, but I sent it out weekly to my students and they really enjoyed it. It's really well done, and there's a variety of activities that they can work through at home. And it could still be used now. You could walk them through the episodes. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And Cindy, thank you for mentioning that you watch it and you're coming up with comprehension questions. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I just think it helps a lot, because I think that not everybody's comprehension level is the same, and you're picking one story. So I think that helps everybody.
Yeah, and even if anyone out there is using Story Online and has, Braille readers or readers that need to increase their fluency or reading speed, you could send home, or depending on the situation, have them download, or if you have access to the actual Braille book, they could follow along in Braille while someone's reading it. Would be another idea to do with that Story Online.
And Neil shared in the chat that he loves that podcast. So thanks again, Leslie, for sharing. Sounds like it's a good one.
Any other, that's it pretty much for my, oh, no, I do have one more on my PowerPoint here. I wanted to share one more resource with you. So this is Adrienne Amandi has given this presentation a couple of times. It's the role of paraprofessionals for students with visual impairments. And you'll have access to this PowerPoint and the recording of this webinar. But if you click this link, you will be taken directly to the PowerPoint. And this one Adrienne gave 2 years ago at CTBVI. And just talking about the role of paraprofessionals, you know, we always are cautious that students who have paraprofessionals maintain their independence and don't lose that independence. So it's, this has a lot of really great information in it. Whether you're training a new paraprofessional or someone who's been around for a while, but you just want to remind them of some key things, it's, I think there's a lot of really great information in here. So you now have access to that link. And then I think, whoops, didn't mean to do that, but that is, oh, wait, I'm going to go back. I didn't mean to stop sharing. Hang on. I want to give all of you, oh, too many buttons to click here. Bear with me a second. Now I gotta get to the, I go this way? Nope. I want to give you their upcoming Tuesday Tea presentations so you can know which ones you'll be interested in. So there we go. The upcoming sessions, next week we're doing Zoom with JAWS for TVIs. And then we're going to be talking about, on October 20th, Eureka and I are going to be giving you how-to guides for remote Braille teaching and learning. So really focusing on Braille learners and how to set up the best scenario for working with students using Braille. And then we'll have link to how-to guides. And then October 27th, May is going to do free mental health resources for students. And then November 3rd is going to be Google Docs with JAWS. So you can put those on your calendar. But we definitely have time for more people to share information. If there's any questions out there, I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point. And does anybody, you know, other resources that you guys are using successfully with your students, other ideas for paraprofessionals? I'm hoping you'll share the webinar series with your families and paraprofessionals. So anything else out there?
Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to comment. So I am going through the Braille series online, like Stephanie mentioned, and it does take some time, but I'm really enjoying it, and the practice activities really help to reinforce the learning. And I think PerkyDuck is great because then seeing the whole page is helpful. Like, so when you're going from one practice activity to the next, like for the first Braille class, you're typing out the alphabet, so it's helpful to refer back to the alphabet I just typed when I'm going to the next practice exercise. So I think this is a great resource for parents who you know, might want to try to learn some Braille, or for professionals, because it does really help my understanding as a psych in how the challenges of learning Braille. And yeah, it's pretty fun. So just wanted to give that feedback. Thanks for making these videos, Stephanie.
Thank you. Anything else? I'm not going to keep you guys till 4:30, but we're happy to hang out and chat, share more ideas.
Yes, this is Miguel from Stockton Unified. I'm a Braille transcriber. And there's a uebonline.org is something we use for our assist. It's another another program that we've used for a number of our assists. If you guys want to take a look at that as well, it's a pretty good program as well.
Thank you. I will take a look.
They have
Quiet.
math on there. They have it looks like UAB Mathematics Advanced now available.
Yeah, and speaking of you, math, I know that I just received from our own staff a new Nemeth tutorial available online, and a Nemeth way to look up Nemeth symbols. And so that's something that I thought seemed really great. And I can go ahead and try to plop that into the chat if anyone wants to hang around.
And Adrian put the website for the UEBonline.org in the chat, and Leslie mentioned in the chat that their paras are using that too, and Neil mentioned that they started using a Nemeth program too, and Leslie says the UEB math and it's great, so it sounds like it's a good resource. And Neil saying that they have had 2 paras go through the UEB online and they really liked it, so it sounds
slick.
And Eureka just dropped in the chat a website for accessibility.pearson.com/Nemeth database. So
that's what I was trying to get. Okay. She beat me to it. And then there's the Nemeth curriculum.
Is that through TSBVI?
What was that?
Is that through the TSBVI, the Texas School for the Blind? Is that the website you guys are referring to with the Nemeth curriculum?
No, I don't think it is TS. Well, so what
I know they have one as well.
Yeah, it was done by Susan Osterhaus, but also from Texas School, but also Sarah Larkin from Iowa and Tina Hertzberg from South Carolina. So I plopped into chat it was a presentation that they did, and I'm looking to see, I might have to do a little searching to see where that actually lives, the curriculum. Let's see, the presentation. I don't know, does anybody else know where this Nemeth curriculum lives? It might very well be on the Texas site. I would think it would be with Susan's stuff.
You're talking about the Nemeth tutorial from APH?
No, I don't think this was something that Veronica shared with us today. Nemeth curriculum. Oh no, I'll have to look for it and we can plop it into the chat before we share this presentation. Unless anyone else knows where it is.
It's from Knowbility, KNOWBILITY.org, teaching students the Nemeth code for mathematics and science notation, a free, totally accessible online approach taught by Susan Osterhaus.
Oh, cool. Can you put that link in the chat? Awesome. Like, who can find it first?
And then I know that Hadley recently redid their program, and I'm trying to get over the fact that I loved the old program. But it's still a great resource in terms of, you know, a good overview for parents. Paras, they've broken it down into smaller video chunks, but it is a good introductory resource.
And my understanding is Hadley takes you all the way through the code, right? All the way through UEB?
They do. It's broken down into uncontracted Braille. It takes you through whole word contractions, and again, I'm just refamiliarizing myself with their new program. Then it takes you all the way through contractions, and they have a separate video for Braille production on a Braille writer as opposed to like transcription software. And then looping back to what we originally talked about, Braille blasters, there's actually an icon top line, I want to say 7 over, that has the image is 6-key input. And if you click on that, it opens a separate line and you write only in Braille. And then you can insert it back into the print document that you opened in Braille blasters. And that's when it shows up in print. So you can do like the whole worksheet and then push insert, and then you'll see it in print when you're finished.
Okay.
Because I've entered it both ways. So.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it can work with both. And I'm glad to hear that about Hadley. So, you know, I would encourage, you know, just like I do at the end of the video, if people want to keep going, that's great. And Hadley's been around for a long time. Their programs are good. So that's kind of why I send people to Hadley after those 6, kind of let them sink their teeth into it and start to really enjoy it, and then send them on to Hadley to finish it up.
And Adrian dropped into the chat APH's Nemeth tutorial. And Leslie also dropped in a link to a fun intro to Braille event that's happening for families over this weekend over Zoom in Canada. And everyone's welcome. Thank you, Leslie, for sharing. We love when people share resources. And I clicked on the link. Yeah, and it says this workshop is suitable for all ages. It's a great activity for kids too. So it's this Saturday, 1 to 1:30 Eastern time. And the description says, come to join them to learn a few simple tricks and tips to help you start getting started reading uncontracted Braille by sight.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for tea today. And we hope we'll see you again next week.